Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're going to be going over and showing you how to install the Wishbone 4-way 25-foot trailer wiring harness. So this trailer wiring harness here is going to be the perfect option for any trailer up to 25 foot. Now if your trailer isn't that long, it's perfectly fine. We would just go ahead and trim off the extra, which is actually what we had to do for this particular application. But so long as it's not over 25 foot, this is going to be a great kit for you. So this particular kit provides a standard 4-way flat, also referred to as a 4-pole trailer connector. This is the most common type of trailer connector and the one you're going to be using if you don't have electric brakes on your trailer. If you do have electric brakes, you're actually going to be using a 7-way, so you wouldn't use this. But for every trailer without a 7-way, it's going to have this standard 4-way. This is the most commonly and widely used one. So a 4-way trailer connector is going to transmit the running light circuit. It's going to transmit the stop and turn signal circuit for both the driver and passenger side, and there's also going to be a pin on there for ground. So those are your 4 total circuits there. This particular one is a wishbone configuration. So what a wishbone configuration is, it basically means there's going to be 2 running lights, 1 for each side. Some 4-ways don't use that wishbone, and they just have a running light wire coming from the front to the rear, just 1 wire, and then they splice into the 2 running light circuits at the rear. So it really doesn't matter which you have. We can either run a running light wire for each side or just one and then tie it together at the rear. This one here, there's a wire for each side. I kind of prefer this. It makes it a little bit easier, but again, you can use it no matter what your trailer has. So this kit has many different uses. Some people, their taillights are getting older, they're cracking, they get sun damaged, and they're going to replace the taillights. They figure they might as well replace the entire trailer wiring harness, which is what we did here. Or if you're building a trailer, it's going to be an excellent option for that. Now over time, the jacket on those wires can get sort of hard and crumbly, exposing the bare wires underneath, causing shorts. So that's a good time to upgrade as well. Really, it's just really going to be by age, or if you're replacing other components. This is a great kit here just to add to your complete setup there, so you can make sure everything's working properly and you don't have any lighting issues down the road. So keep in mind, this wiring harness is compatible with both standard and LED taillights. We actually upgraded to LED taillights on this trailer, so it's going to work great with both. The wire size is going to be adequate for both of those types of bulbs. So now that we've gone over the wiring harness a little bit, let's go ahead and show you the installation. So first step of your installation, you're going to go ahead and remove your old wiring harness here. You can see we have a nice bundle here. It's quite messy. Now you can be as neat or as messy as you want when you're removing this. I end up just cutting a lot of this off because I knew we weren't going to be reusing it, so it was much faster just to cut everything off and then pull it all out. But now that we've got all the old wires out, we'll go ahead and start running the new ones. So next we're going to take our wiring harness here and just sort of untangle it as best as we can. So this is actually known as a wishbone wiring harness. Now what a wishbone wiring harness means is there's going to be a running light circuit on each side of the trailer. So normally they'll tie the running lights in at the back of the trailer, then they'll just run 1 wire up to the trailer connector. Here you actually have 2 brown wires for the running lights that go to the back of the trailer connector. So it doesn't really matter which one your trailer uses. You can install this either if it had a wishbone before or just had the standard one. So our 2 white wires here, these are for the ground. These run back to each taillight assembly. Our 2 brown wires, that's what we talked about, the wishbone design. One goes to the driver taillight assembly, one goes to the passenger. Then we have our yellow wire here. This will go to the driver side, and then the green wire will go to the passenger side on the right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our wiring harness here. Now I like to make things look a little bit cleaner, so I'm going to take some wire loom and I'm going to install it on the first couple feet of our wiring harness here, just again to make it look a little bit nicer. You guys don't have to do this, but if you have some laying around, it's worth the extra time to make it look a little nicer. But once I get this on, I'm going to leave a couple feet at the tongue here, because you need to keep in mind that you need to have clearance to make turns, and you won't have enough to reach so you can reach your truck depending on your configuration. So give yourselves a little bit of extra wire here at the front. And the way you can do this to make sure that you don't short yourself, just kind of take it here and just wrap it around the tongue jack here or the trailer coupler. Just make yourself sure that you give plenty of extra. So now what we're going to do is we're going to route all of our wires from the front to the rear here. So again, our wiring harness does kind of split in 2. The 3 wires here with the green wire, that's going to go to the passenger side, and the 3 wires here with the yellow wire, that's going to go to the driver's side. So just keep that in mind when you're routing them. But we're going to go ahead now and get that done, and then we can show you how we did it it's really going to vary depending on how everything looks underneath. So the step-by-step really isn't going to do you guys too much good because, again, your trailer can be different. But the overall basis of it should be pretty similar. So we'll go ahead and show you that once we have it all done. So we've got our wires routed now. Now right here, just directly behind the jack tube, I used a little ring clamp here along with a self-tapping screw. That's just going to secure our harness here so it's not falling down. But once I come from there, I'm going to go directly down, and then we're going to be pretty much tying these to the bottom of the frame. So you're going to see these little metal clips here. So I recommend picking these up with your wiring harness because there's really not a lot of ways to secure the wires to the bottom of the trailer. Granted, that's going to depend on your trailer, but most of the time you're going to have a flat lip on a frame rail, and the way these work is there's teeth on them. So you hammer them onto the bottom of the frame, and there's a smooth side that you guide your wires through. So basically they just make a nice convenient way to hold your wires there without them dangling down, without requiring any modifications. Just a simple tap to the hammer and they're nice and secure. The teeth bite on there so they don't move, and then you can just use your wire to guide them through. But we're going to use more of these here and just work our way down the frame rail. You can see our wire here. We have another one of those metal clips, and then from about this point on we're going to have to jump under the trailer. So we're underneath the trailer now. You can see we have our wire just tucked nice inside the frame rail here using those little clips that we showed you. And then for our particular trailer, we have these cross beams here. There's already holes drilled in there. We just enlarged them. That way I could sneak the wire through that beam. If you don't have those, you don't have to worry about it. You can go around them. Again, a lot of this is going to be specific to your trailer. Not everyone is going to look the same underneath, but again, most of them are going to have this frame right here so you can use those little ties. But we're just going to keep working our way back behind the frame. So we're going to route our wire to about this point here, and then we're going to come back outside the trailer because we actually have a clearance light that's going to be installed here. Now chances are you have several of these on your trailer. Some are going to have more than others, but the locations that you do have the clearance lights, here's the one we're going to be installing. It's just going to mount up like so. So you need to make sure that you stop and give yourself some extra wire here, whether you make your connections now or you make them at the end. What we did is we went ahead and cut our wires, and we attached the two ends to one of these butt connectors, and then these two ends of the butt connectors we're going to attach to our light here. So we're going to do that a little bit later. We're not going to do it right now. If you want to wait, you can just coil up, give yourself some extra wire to work with, and then continue running your wire to the rear. But again, we need to do this each time that we have a clearance or side marker light on the trailer. You could have several, so just be aware of that when you're routing your wire. So we don't have any more clearance or side marker lights. We just have the one on each side. So we can just now route this wire to the end here. Now this is a single axle trailer. So we're just going to keep following our wire here. We have another cross beam that we went ahead. There was a pre-drilled hole there. We just drilled through it. So this area here around the suspension and the axle, you want to be careful that you secure the wire. You don't want the wire getting tangled up in the leaf springs or anything like that. So directly over the axle, I have another one of those wire clips. Now you can use as many of these as you want, or as few as you want, but you do need to make sure your wire is not going to be dragging on the ground. But from here, we're going to go up and over the axle. We have another cross beam back there, and then directly after that cross beam, that's where our tail lights are going to be. So we'll jump outside the trailer. We'll show you where that wire comes out. So we've got our wiring harness, the end run back to where we have our tail light here. Now we're working on the passenger side, so again, we need to have that green wire. So what we're going to do is we're just going to simply connect our 3 wires here to the 3 wires coming from the back of the tail light. Now your tail light may be a little bit different in regards to wire colors, number of wires, because that's going to come down to which specific tail light you have. But the 3 wire design of this one is pretty standard. This is going to be most commonly used, so this is probably what you guys are going to have as well. So we went ahead and just used something to secure our wire here, a little ring clamp, just so it's not dangling on the ground. So I'm kind of nut about this stuff. I always like to make sure that we have tons of security points along the way to secure our wire. That way it doesn't drag down, get tangled up in anything. So I just like to go a little bit overboard even sometimes on securing the wire. But what we're going to do now is we're just going to attach our 3 wires here to our 3 wires here. We are, however, going to make a ground jumper, which we'll show you in a second. But in order to do all this, we are going to need some miscellaneous butt connectors, such as you see here, as well as some electrical tape, some ring terminals. And if you guys have this at home, great. If you do a lot of wiring, chances are you do have these. Are pretty common. You can even pick these up individually in town. But we actually sell a kit here that's going to have all these miscellaneous connectors, all the ones you need and some of the ones you might not need. And it's also going to have a crimping tool. So it's pretty cost effective. I would recommend picking it up along with your trailer wiring harness here, just so you have everything right here when you need it. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and start making our connections now. We're just going to strip some jacket off of each of these wires to start, and then we'll begin making our connections. So our green, this is for the stop and turn signal circuit, and then our brown, which is for the running light circuit. We can just connect those straight to one another using one of these butt connectors. You want to use the blue ones here. And I always like to twist those strands there, that way they don't kind of fray and go to the side when you're sticking them in. So there's that one. Now we have the running light wire. Get that crimped on there. And every time I crimp a wire, I always like to just give it a little tug. Hold on to the butt connector, give it a little tug, make sure it doesn't pull out. But we've got those two wires taken care of. Now we have our white wire, which is for the ground. So what I'm going to do is, I'm actually going to attach these together and then connect them to a ring terminal, which is this here. And then I'm going to screw that ring terminal into the frame of the trailer there to act as our ground. So you will need a self-tapping screw in order to do that. And I think I'm actually just going to attach it right up there. That seems like it's going to be a good location for us. So there we go, that looks pretty good. What I'm going to do now is, I'm going to take some of our electrical tape here. I'm just going to clean up all these wires. You want to make sure that you cover those butt connectors. You don't want any water getting in there. Basically just making it look a little bit nicer. But we've got this side done. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Everything is pretty much the exact same, except for the other side of the trailer has a yellow wire in our loom there. So now, as we said earlier, we needed to make some tie-off points here for our running lights, so that's what we're going to do now. Since we've wired everything up to the tail lights, we're just going to install our little clearance lights here. So this could vary depending on your particular setup, but usually there's going to be a hole for your wires and then 2 holes for the mounting tabs there. So we're just going to fish our wires down through there, try to fish them out the bottom as best we can. So now we're going to go ahead and just secure our light using self-tapping screws. Again, this could vary depending on which actual clearance light you have, but most of them are fairly standard in regards to this 2-hole design. And then once you have your light mounted and your wires ran down through here, you'll just crimp them and then secure them with electrical tape like you would normally. So now we're going to go ahead and test everything out to make sure everything was done correctly. Now we have a tester box specifically for this, but you guys are just going to hook up to your vehicle there, nice and simple. We're going to go ahead and turn on the tail lights. We should see both the marker lights illuminated as well as the tail lights at the rear. So we'll check both sides, make sure that's good, and then we will turn on our left turn signal. Perfect. Now we're going to switch over to our brake lights. So the brake lights should illuminate the tail lights on either side there. And then finally, we'll have our right turn signal. Make sure the right turn signal is illuminating there on that side as well. So looks like everything's working correctly for us. If you guys don't have any luck, just make sure to check all your connections with the butt connectors. That's usually the #1 fail point. And also check your grounds as well. So overall, it's pretty easy, so you guys really shouldn't have any issues, but just a few pointers there if your lights aren't working. So with all of our lights working correctly, that's going to do it today for our look and installation of the Wishbone 4-way 25-foot trailer wiring harness.